we have a guest. Hi guys, and welcome to my end of the year book tag. I know everybody says this, but I literally cannot believe it's almost 2024. I feel like this year went by so fast, and I'm really excited to go through and do a little end of the year wrap up tag situation. I got this entire video idea and all of the questions from Destiny, so full credit to her. There was like 20 questions, I think 22, and they were all really fun, so I wanted to do my own. I am filming this a little bit early though. I think it's December 6th right now, so I will do a December wrap up just to like round out the year and talk about all the books that I read after I film this. But I'm currently at 67 books, which for me is really good. I think that's the most books I've read since I started tracking my reading a couple of years ago, and I just thought all the questions were really fun, so let's get into it. The first question is most disappointing read of the year, and for me this was definitely Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I loved Every Summer After, so I was really excited for this to come out, and it just unfortunately wasn't for me. I didn't really like the premise, I didn't connect to the characters a lot, and it has a trope kind of that I just don't love, so overall this just was not for me. The next one is Underdog Book of the Year, and for me this is definitely The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I have seen this book around, but I just don't think I've seen it around enough. I think it deserves way more hype than it got. This is a romance set in New York. It has a magical realism aspect to it between a chef and a girl who works in the publishing industry, and I just loved this book. It was just so cozy and intimate and sweet, and I just loved it so much. It was so well written. There were so many quotes from this book that I loved, and I just loved this. If you haven't read it yet, please check it out. The third one is a book that was overhyped, and for me this is actually a book I DNF'd, and it's Powerless. This is a fantasy romance, sort of like a romantasy, about a girl who, in this world there are like people who have powers and people who don't, and she doesn't have powers but she pretends like she does, and she ends up in this competition type thing. And it wasn't even that this was bad or poorly written or anything. Like, I was enjoying it, but once she gets into the competition part, it is literally the Hunger Games, and I understand being inspired by something totally, but to me this was like shot for shot ripoff of the Hunger Games almost. The comparisons were crazy, and if you're a normal person who hasn't reread the Hunger Games every year since 2008, it probably won't bother you that much, but unfortunately I am not that person. So for me, I just couldn't get past it, and I did end up DNFing it, which I am sad about because I feel like there was so much potential, and I know it's the first in a series, but I just couldn't do it. For my fave book couple of the year, I have so many I couldn't choose. Charlie and Bailey from Betting on You by Lynn Painter, Jack and Elsie from Love Theoretically, Annie and Will from Practice Makes Perfect, and Brianna and Jacob from Yours Truly. Loved all of these couples so much. For my favorite main character of the year, I kind of struggled with this one because I feel like I like most main characters. If I am reading a book where I don't like the main character, I'll probably just DNF it. But two that stand out to me are Clementine from The 7-Year Slip and Harriet from Happy Place. I just loved both of them a lot, and I feel like I related to them a lot, which is just always gonna make me like a main character even more. For a book that surprised you, it was definitely The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is an audiobook only novella sequel to The Unhoneymooners, and I love Christina Lauren, but The Unhoneymooners is probably like my least favorite of theirs that I've read. I just didn't connect to it, and I found the main characters kind of annoying. So when I saw this, I really didn't think I was gonna like it that much, and I was totally wrong. I also don't always love novellas in general, just because I sometimes just feel like they're too short for you to really get into it, but I was totally wrong. I ended up really liking this. The audiobook is so well done. I really liked both characters, and I thought they were really cute together, and it's just a really fun, like, feel-good romance if you want something fun and summery. This follows the sister of the main character in the first book and the love interest from the first book's friend as they're planning a wedding together in Hawaii, and it was just so fun. I was smiling to myself the entire time, and the audiobook is really well done, like well produced. It's full cast and it has like sound effects, and the love interest is narrated by Harry Shum Jr., which as a Glee girl I loved. The next question is your new fave author you discovered in 2023. Now I kind of want to cheat and say Ali Hazelwood because I did read The Love Hypothesis in like 2021, but then this year I went back and I reread that, and I read the other 3 books that she has out, and I just love her so much. She has definitely become an auto-buy author for me. But my real answer is Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This year I read the Inheritance Game series and the Natural series, except the Brothers Hawthorne. I haven't read that one yet, but her books are just really fun and easy to read, and like good series that you can just get like sucked into with really fun premises. For the happiest read of the year, I think I'm gonna go with Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I just recently read this and I loved it so much. I just had the best time reading this. I couldn't put it down. I thought the couple was so cute and they just have like the best dynamic. It's like a friends to lovers type of story and I just could not put it down, could not stop smiling. I just had the best time ever. So I think because of that, I'm gonna say that's the happiest book of the year. The most frustrating book of the year for me was A Court of Thorns and Roses. I know, I'm sorry. This just wasn't for me. I know it's like so popular and beloved, but I just didn't like it. I wanted to so bad and there were elements, oh, she's back. And there were elements where I felt like I could get into it and I was like, okay, like it's gonna get good now. Like I'm gonna get really into it now. And I just didn't. So that was really upsetting to me and kind of frustrating. Best adaptation of the year easily goes to A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think The Hunger Games in general are some of the best book to movie adaptations ever, and this was no exception. Obviously every book is going to be different than the movie, but I felt like the changes they made for the most part were well done and not detrimental to the story, if that makes sense. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't get into specifics, but I just love The Hunger Games, so like of course this was gonna be my answer. I've seen it twice already and I think I'm gonna see it for a third time. My biggest complaint honestly is that Tom Blythe is just too good looking and I wish they made him a little uglier, just a little. But in general, I love that movie and I think it's such a good adaptation. That was also my longest read of the year, which is the next question. But again, I would read literally anything Suzanne Collins puts out. I would quite literally read her grocery list, so I didn't mind that the book was a little long. Technically the shortest book I read was The Unhoneymooners because it's a novella, but the shortest actual book I read was The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, which is a Groundhog Day type story set on Valentine's Day. It's a YA romance. Honestly wasn't my favorite just because I don't think I like time warp stories like that, but I know a lot of people do love it, so I think it's just me. Favorite covers was also hard because I have so many. Done and Dusted I think is a stunning cover and it's so unique. I love it so much. I loved the Wildfire cover by Hannah Grace, so pretty. I also think Carly Fortune's covers are just gorgeous. I love those too. All of them are so pretty. And I really loved the cover for The Only One Left. I just think it's really cool and I like the color combo and it just perfectly fits the vibe of the story. A book I haven't stopped thinking about is A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I will shut up about it in a second, I promise. But truly, like, since I read it, that book has just stuck with me so much. I was kind of mad at myself for doubting Suzanne Collins and not reading it when it came out because just it is my favorite series of all time. But I just was nervous I wasn't going to like it. But also I'm kind of glad I waited and read it a few weeks ago because now I'm reading it like right as the hype is big and right as the movie's coming out, which just has been so fun. And literally I don't think an hour has gone by since I finished that book where I haven't thought about it. It just has taken over my life. For cringiest book of the year, I have a series, but it's cringy like in a complimentary way, and that's the Twisted series by Anna Huang. They're definitely a little cringy, a little ridiculous, but just really fun. To me, they're sort of like the 50 Shades movies. I really like the 50 Shades movies. I think they're really fun. Do I think they're Oscar-worthy cinematic masterpieces? No, but I like them. That's kind of how I feel about this series. It's not gonna win a Nobel Peace Prize, but they're really fun and really easy to read. I read the first two this year and I'm actually currently reading the fourth one. I skipped the third. I don't know. I'll read it eventually. But the first one's like Billionaire, Brother's Best Friend. The second one is A Princess and Her Bodyguard, and the one I'm reading right now is like Billionaire Fake Dating, and they're just fun. Like, they're a good time. Unpopular book I loved is Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. I do feel like Abby Jimenez is a big author, rightfully so. I love her, but I feel like this book specifically I never really see people talking about, and I really enjoyed it. It's about this travel YouTuber who has to give it up when she gets custody of her niece, and it's about her navigating that, suddenly becoming a single mother, and the love interest is between her neighbor who comes over to help her one night when he hears the baby crying. I love a single parent romance, and he's just like very protective of her and like always there for her and helping her, and I'm surprised that not a lot of people talk about it even though Abby Jimenez is so popular. Next is what was the highest and lowest rated books you read this year on Goodreads, and do you agree? My lowest rated book was Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead, which I kind of agree with and I kind of don't. It's rated 3.5 3.5 stars on Goodreads, which is good in my opinion, and I actually gave it a 3.5 when I read it, so I guess I do agree, but saying it's the lowest rated book just makes it sound bad, and I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was a really good romance, so I feel bad giving it the lowest rated spot. And then the highest rated book was Fourth Wing, which I don't agree with. I liked Fourth Wing. I had a good time reading it. I think I gave it 4 stars. I just don't think it's as good as it was hyped up to be, in my personal opinion, but it wasn't bad. I just don't think it's my favorite book ever, like deserves to be highest rated, you know. The next one is fave book quotes, and I have so many. The first thing that came to my mind was The 7-Year Slip, because this book just has so many quotes. I have a whole like list of them, and I never annotate books, but this book I just had to. One of them is, I hadn't looked around me, hadn't been part of the world, part of anything really. I'd just gone through it, head down, heart stuttered, like a traveler against a torrential rainstorm. And the rest of my life stretched before me like the good parts of a novel that the author had yet to write and didn't know how. Like, that book is just so beautifully written. I love it so much. Also from Happy Place, Emily Henry just is gonna crawl into my brain and put my innermost thoughts into words every time. I sit on the edge of the bed, feeling the loneliness swell, not knowing whether it's pressing against me from the outside or growing from within. Either way, it's inescapable. My oldest companion. Why would she write that? I literally feel like crying right now. Another one from Iris Kelly Doesn't Date that I thought was so beautiful is, while in Portland, Stevie always forgot how much she loved the ocean, the vastness of it. She spent her days fighting huge emotions and thoughts, constantly working to keep herself from spilling over. But here, in front of the Pacific at twilight, with nothing around except water and rocks and sky, she remembered just how small she was, how insignificant in the scheme of the universe. Okay, and last one from Love Theoretically. They watched Twilight together and that's her favorite movie. Hey, he turns to me again. Thank you for suggesting Bill Nye porn, which out of context kind of ruins it, but it's like a previous show. No, for, I cannot put it in words until I can, for wanting to know me enough to watch my favorite movie with me. I need a minute. The romance quotes are just gonna get me every single time. Nothing compares, I'm sorry. For the book with the most unique concept, probably something fantasy like Fourth Wing, but not a fantasy, The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The series is like YA criminal minds, and they are part of this FBI team that helps them solve cold cases, and they all have different talents. She's a profiler, there's a girl that's really good with numbers, there's a human lie detector, that kind of thing, and every book there's a different case they're trying to solve, and then there's an overarching case through the whole series, and I just thought that was a really fun and unique concept. A book that you read that you would reread? Honestly, literally anything. I'm such a big rereader. It takes so little for me to want to reread a book. Anything that I gave like 3.5 stars, honestly even 3 sometimes or better, I probably would reread if I was in the mood. But specifically, I have been jonesing to reread Happy Place. I think it's because all of Emily Henry's other books I've read like 3 times each, and Happy Place I only read once when it came out, so I'm definitely due, but I might save it for when I go on vacation in February. I can't decide, we'll see. The last 2 are more like reflective questions, reading goal reflection and 2024 reading. Overall, I'm really happy with my reading year. I read a lot of books I really liked, and I read a lot of books number wise too. Even though reading is not a race, it's not a contest, even if you read 1 book this year, that's great, but I got in a really bad reading slump at the end of last year. For like 3 months I didn't finish a book, so I was really glad for the most part I didn't have any like huge slumps. I think my longest one was a few weeks, so I'm very grateful for that. I exceeded my reading goal. My reading goal was 52 books and I'm currently at 67, and there really weren't many books that I disliked. There were some obviously, but for the most part I enjoyed a lot of what I read this year. For next year, I think I'm gonna set my reading goal to 52 books again, just because 1 a week just feels doable to me. Like, even if I get really busy or I go through a little bit of a slump, I can catch up, and then if I read more, that's great. My like secret goal that I'm not gonna like actually put down anywhere is I would love to read 100 books in a year at some point. Again, it's not about numbers, it really doesn't matter, but I don't know, I just always thought that that would be such a cool accomplishment. So my secret goal is 100, but again, I have no idea if that'll happen. That would definitely take a lot. It would be a lot more reading than I've ever done, so we'll see. But if I could hit that, that would be fun. And the last one is, after 2023 reading, what are you prioritizing in 2024 reading wise? For me, I do want to reread a little less. Like I said earlier, I'm just such a big rereader, and I am pro rereading. I think everybody should reread their favorite books. If you watched a movie you loved or listened to a song you loved, you wouldn't just listen to it or watch it once, so why would you only read a book you love once? But with that being said, I do think I reread just a little too much, and then my TBR is never ending and I never get to a lot of new books because I'm busy rereading. Even looking through my books for this video, so many of them this year were rereads, so I do just want to rein myself in a little bit and only reread like every once in a while. Something I also started doing this year, but I want to continue to do, is just to branch out into different genres. I feel like there was a year or two where I read literally only romance, which is great. I love romance, but I do enjoy other genres and I want to keep expanding genre wise and not just read solely romance, and really just read good books. Even with my reading challenge, I want to make sure I'm reading things I actually enjoy. Now that I have a channel, I feel like it's easy to force yourself to read books for videos, and I don't really want to do that. I really want to try and only read books that I am truly enjoying and reading because I want to, and just to continue reading and having fun, because reading is my favorite thing ever. And it's so fun that I now have this channel as an outlet for me to talk about my reading, because I've never really had that before, and I'm just so excited for 2024 and what it will bring. I have a really good feeling. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, credit to Destiny for this entire video. If you want to follow me on any of my other socials, I'll have them all linked down below like always. I love you guys and thank you so much for watching.